Hi, I'm Christina Hefner, and this is my project on the nutrition of wild versus domestic horses. This topic is important because horses, both wild and domestic, have served several different purposes in both a modern and historical context, including agriculture such as farming and ranching, for sport, or just recreational purposes. You can see several of the different species just in the European area itself in this photo on the right. The horse is known as a keystone species, which is seen in this really wonderful picture. A keystone species is a species that the ecosystem relies upon heavily, and without it, the ecosystem would not thrive as well as it does. The horse is able to regulate the growth of grass, and it also helps fertilize it afterwards, which allows these smaller animals to feed on both the grasses and the fertilizer, and creates a nice environment for all of the animals in it. Some basics of horse nutrition and diet. Horses are non-ruminant hindgut fermenters, as opposed to many other types of farm animals. Their unique qualities include an extremely small stomach that is designed to allow them to eat continuously throughout the day. They also do not possess a gallbladder, and a gallbladder has the use of being able to store bile to help in the digestion of fatty acids. Instead, bile is produced in the liver and sent directly to the small intestines. As such, the horse should not have a diet that is high in fat, and the average amount only contains about 3 to 4% of fat. This is just an example of the digestive system of the horse. And obviously, some of the major ingredients in a horse's diet, some of which includes some fat, mostly carbohydrates, and in the bottom you can see some examples, both domestically and wild. Protein is obviously an important aspect, that the quality of which should be chosen over the quantity, as only a certain amount of protein is able to be easily digested by the horse at any given time. Vitamins and minerals can both usually be found in the amounts needed by the horse through their average diet, be it domestic or wild. In terms of wild versus domestic nutrition, wild horses use their GIT as is normally intended, feeding and foraging about 16 hours a day on the different grasses, brush, and roughages you can find in the wild. However, this is entirely dependent on the geography the horses find themselves in, as some areas are rougher than others. Domestic horses, however, are usually fed 1 to 2 meals a day, depending on the humans, and they are usually fed a pre-mixed, individually portioned type of feed, which usually comes with the necessary nutrients, minerals that are needed for an average horse. In addition, they are fed hay and grass periodically to help with their system, as is assumed. This is just a picture of the evolution of the modern horse. As you can see, they are believed to be domesticated from the steppe horses, ancestors of the modern wild horse. So, impact of horse nutrition on the environment. There are, of course, some amounts of greenhouse gases that are released by horses. However, as is shown in the picture on the right, horses have nowhere near the amount of effect as other animals, such as cattle, both dairy and non-dairy. They do release some amounts of methane, nitrous oxide, and carbon dioxide. However, a lot of their excrement can actually be recycled back into the ecosystem, be it domestically or naturally. The fertilization of the plants, which are later eaten by the horses, creates a sort of circle of life, as you will. However, when not properly disposed of, both manure and urine can create a negative impact on the soil and water which surrounds it. When left to sit, as is often in pastures and domestic horses, manure can release chemicals into the air and the soil which surrounds it. Likewise, urine can often run into the soil and water sources and release chemicals that are less than beneficial into the environment. There's also some known cultural differences of wild versus domestic horses. Wild horses in both Asia and America are often seen as nuisances or pests and are often chased out or even killed. Domestic horses have a much more perceived use and are therefore more highly valued by a cultural standard. The evolution of the horse's gut microbiome has changed, as seen in several different studies. No horse has the same microbiome as the wild ancestors that they once had. As such, there are no true wild horses left, as even the Przewalski's wild horse comes from a line of descendants that are from a conservation effort rather than truly wild horses. The diet and lifestyle of domestic horses has changed drastically compared to even the wild horses you see today. Wild horses have been shown to have a much more diverse microbiome than their domestic counterparts, which is due in high part to the source and variety of plants and forage that they are able to find in their diet. And this can change from season to season based on what thrives and what dies. So in conclusion, wild horses have a much more minimal impact on the environment when compared to their domestic counterpart, due to their ability to actively assist in the growth of the environment on a sustainable basis, their ability to reintegrate the resources into the land, and they also present the smallest carbon footprint. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Have a good one.